Hey everybody, I am Gina Bianca, life and business coach, salon owner, educator, mastermind mentor, and your host of the Gina Bianca Podcast. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Today's a special day. I'm finally going to be sharing with you guys how I gained and lost almost 100 pounds. And I'm really excited to share this story with you. It's a very personal story, obviously. And people have been asking me nonstop, in person, online, in messages, all of the things. You know, people have been asking nonstop, what's your secret? How did you do it? And I'm excited to create this series for you because it's not just a one episode quick fix. It's not something that is, you know, a crazy magic formula. There is a formula I'm going to share with you, but, you know, it's not something that is just a quick and easy thing. A lot goes into what I experienced, and I'm excited to share with you the entire, story from start to finish. And it's never quite finished, honestly. And I'm just really excited to share it with you. So this episode is part 1 of how I gained and lost almost 100 pounds. So I'm going to go back in time and share with you how this all started, a little bit about, my journey with weight loss. And I've struggled with my weight for a really long time, as I'm sure many of you listening have struggled. And I want to kind of go through and tell the story and really point out some specific areas that had to change. And I'm sure you guys can relate. I'm really grateful you all are here, and I'm grateful I have somebody to share my story with. So thank you again. Remember, share this podcast, share this education with everybody who would benefit from it. I love that the podcast is a free resource and, something that can help elevate not only the beauty industry, but help elevate others to live their best and most healthiest and happiest life. So thank you guys again for listening. I can't say thank you enough because, I see the numbers, I see the downloads, I see the shares, and I'm just blown away by your support. So thank you again, and let's get started with how I gained and lost almost 100 pounds, part 1. Before I start this episode, I want to let you guys know I'm getting a lot of inquiries for life and business coaching, and I have not yet made my coaching available to the public because I am so strapped on time that I only make it available to my mastermind members. And to be honest with you guys, I have not shared my links yet because I'm trying to get my perfect schedule in order. However, if you are looking to coach with me, to join my community, and to do, life and business coaching with me, there is that opportunity. I want you to go to my Instagram page and click the link in my bio. And on the first line, you're going to see Join Life and Business Coaching Waitlist. And if you're interested and you're not in Mastermind and you're not a hairstylist and you're interested in working with me, that opportunity is available. It's coming soon. I really just have to put myself first and make sure that my schedule is manageable for me. I'm a very busy person. I'm doing a lot right now. And really the number one thing I'm doing is figuring out how much I can take on. So I have a lot of, things that I'm doing again, but I want to be there as a resource, and I would love to do coaching with you, whether it's something that's group coaching, whether it's one-on-one coaching. But if you're not a hairstylist and you're listening to this, I am going to start serving people outside of the beauty community with coaching. I'm just kind of getting my ducks in a row. I'm just being honest and real with you guys. So if you're interested in working with me, or if you're interested in any other health and wellness related content, please go to my Instagram at I am Gina Bianca, click the link in my bio, and on the first line, you're going to see Join Life and Business Coaching Waitlist. So if you're not a hairstylist and you're looking to work with me, or if you're a hairstylist and you're only interested in coaching, please feel free to go and add yourself to that list so that I can communicate with you when those services do become available. So I just want to start out sharing that because I have to get my ducks in a row. It's like a busy time of the year. We're in January. It's January 10th right now as I record this. And I just don't want to, I just don't want to put it out to the public just yet. I really only want to work with people who are serious about change and who are serious about working with me and who see my value. I don't want to put it out there to the public. So I have my mastermind group, and that's more for hairstylists. A lot of people ask me, can I join mastermind if I'm not a hairstylist? And you can. But it's more for like hair business salon ownership. But if you're not a salon owner, maybe you're just a business owner who wants to benefit from my coaching, I am going to be offering things for you. I just have to give myself a little time. So add yourself to that wait list, and I cannot wait to meet you. So let's get started about how I gained and lost almost 100 pounds. So I want to go back in time, and I want to tell you my authentic story so you have a lot of context, and I'm sure you all can relate. Some of you might be able to relate a lot to this, and this series is going to be even more meaningful to you if you hear the whole story, because, I am not for everybody. My story is not for everybody. This is not a quick fix. This is something that was transformative and life-changing, and I want to share it with you, but this is not a quick fix. So if you're looking for a quick fix, if you're looking for something that's easy, if you're looking for something inauthentic and some bullshit where I'm selling you something, it is not the case. This is not for everybody. Okay. So I want to tell you my whole story, and I want to see at what points you relate to me. And I want to see at what points where I can connect with you and I can really help you make long lasting change. So this is completely free resource. I'm not going to leave out anything. I'm not going to say, hey, go sign up for the rest of it. You're going to get a lot of information and a lot of value from this podcast series. So if you haven't listened to episode number 31, that's the beginning of the series. That's the one thing that can change everything. So that's the beginning. And I believe we're going to have 2 or 3 more episodes that go with this. So there's a lot you're going to learn from it. And then if you want to work with me and coach with me for other things, or if you're having trouble still, that's where we can work together in the future. But I hope that this will change your life. Okay, I'm not over here going to give you bits and pieces. I want to give you it all. And I want to tell you my authentic story, so hopefully you can change your life with it. So let's go back in time. Growing up, I had always had issues with food. Okay. I grew up with a lot of trauma. I had domestic violence in my family. My mom was working all the time to provide for us. Bless her heart. Literally, she has been working nonstop her entire life to provide for our family. And during that time, I was taking care of my brother and I was a young child, a young teenager, cooking for us. And, I have to be honest, growing up with depression and growing up with so much trauma, I always looked to food to numb the pain or to connect with myself. So I talk a lot about the 6 human needs. This is from Tony Robbins, and my coaching training that I have focuses mainly on human needs psychology. And it's all based on the 6 human needs. So it's how we meet our needs either in a healthy or an unhealthy way. And one of the needs is connection and love. And for me, how I was connecting with myself was through food. When you eat a lot, you overeat, all the blood rushes to your stomach, you feel something, right? It's like eating to feel something. And I have to be honest with you all and say that as a young child, when you are eating to connect with yourself and to get that need for love, which is a need that we are biologically wired to meet, like we have to meet this need for love and connection. When you use food to meet that need, it is a very hard thing to stop doing. So from a young age, I was using food to connect with myself and meet that need. Another need that food can meet is variety. There's millions of kinds of food, all different flavors, all different things, all different textures. And if you are meeting your need for variety by always being a foodie, right? So if we're a foodie, chances are food is meeting our need for variety. And that's another need that food can hit for us. And according to Tony Robbins, if a person, action, whatever meets 3 or more of your needs, it can become addicting. So another need that food was meeting for me and meets for many other people is certainty. It is certain that we can go through the fast food drive-through. It is certain that we can throw something in the microwave and it's ready in 2 minutes. It is certain that we can order on DoorDash. Food meets a lot of our needs. And if a certain action or person or whatever meets 3 of your needs, it can become hopelessly addicting. And it's even harder to break that habit. So the 6 human needs, if you're new to all of this, are certainty, uncertainty and variety, significance, love, growth, and contribution. And these are 6 universal human needs that all humans have. And over the last 2 years, as I complete my life coaching program through Robbins Madonna's coaching, I have transformed utilizing the 6 human needs. And this is what I help others utilize to transform and create whatever transformation it is that they want in their life. And if you want to learn more about the 6 human needs, Tony has tons of info on it, podcasts, all of that. Like, it's no big secret. It is something that he teaches about all the time. So just a little bit of background on what I'm talking about. So growing up from a very young age, I was addicted to food pretty much because it was meeting a lot of my needs. So growing up, this was a constant battle for me. It was a constant struggle. And I know that if you're listening to this, you might relate, or you might know somebody who can relate, that food is like an addiction. It's not something you're just like, I have to eat right now every single time, but it's something that is just your default, what you go back to, and what helps you get through the day. And for many, it's what helps you feel something. It's very vulnerable for me to share this with you. So, I'm feeling a little vulnerable right now. I'm feeling a little, but I hope that I'm making sense. And I hope that, some of you are nodding your head or having a breakthrough about, food. So I hope my sharing isn't going unnoticed. Anyway, I feel like when I feel that feeling of vulnerability, I feel like that's when I'm on the right track to doing something. So I hope that this podcast changes a lot of lives and that it helps a lot of people. Anyway, so growing up, food has always been a challenge for me. Now, getting to the age of school, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, I was bullied relentlessly for being chubby. Bullied relentlessly from 5th grade bitch girls. Literally, I can't even, but I was bullied relentlessly for being chubby. And it was worst moments of my life. I still have flashbacks of someone saying something to me in front of people or relentlessly bullying me. And these traumas, which are little t traumas, they're little traumas, interpersonal traumas. It's not like a life-changing car accident or assault or something, but these little traumas compounded over time create so much anxiety and stress. And growing up, dealing with this bullying, I developed so much shame about myself. I was just ashamed to be alive. I was not okay. And I was always, always, always stressed and feeling horrible about my weight and how I looked. I would look in the mirror and I would hate what I saw. I would cry all the time. It was just miserable with my weight. And I don't know if you can relate, which I'm sure some of you can relate to everything that I'm saying. That's why I want to share the whole story, because for me, weight loss was something that I needed to do for my health, but it was always hard for me to lose weight because it was just so ingrained in my life. It was so ingrained about food and shame because, I was using food to meet my needs, and I was also shamed for being overweight. So a lot of what I struggle with as a grown woman is embedded in me since childhood. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, so dealing with all of this shame, dealing with all of this stress, I developed an eating disorder. And an eating disorder is not always starving yourself or putting your finger down your throat, although I did both of those things. An eating disorder is basically your relationship with food. And it's a lot of shame, and it's a lot of, it's just really difficult. So struggling with an eating disorder since, I even think eating to meet your needs is an eating disorder. Overeating, binge eating, purging, starving yourself, all of these things is a disorder with food. So having an eating disorder for this long in my life, made it really difficult for me to lose weight, keep it off, and to have a healthy lifestyle. So, all of this stemming from childhood trauma and childhood stress and bullying, I'm sure I'm not the only one. So when I started high school the summer before, I was sick of being bullied. I was completely done being bullied. I was like, I refuse. So I was compulsively exercising. I was, eating, but then throwing up and, or starving. And I lost a lot of weight. So I would compulsively work out every single night. And I lost so much weight. I started high school. I was hot. All the guys liked me and I was popular and cool, whatever. But my eating disorder was the center of my life. I was sick all the time, making myself sick all the time. My relationship with food was absolutely not okay. And it was something that I struggled with all through high school. Then, I was struggling with an eating disorder, struggling with drugs and alcohol, struggling with all of my addictions. And this is all from unresolved trauma. You know what I mean? It all comes back to unresolved trauma. And it's really important to take care of yourself and to resolve this trauma as an adult, or else these demons will haunt you forever. So one of the big things that helped me lose weight was dealing with my trauma, going to therapy. Many of you know I went to treatment. I shared on the previous episode about my experience in treatment. And, it was a lot more than the other tips and tricks I'm going to share with you. But a lot of my issues with food stemmed from unresolved childhood trauma and bullying and all kinds of trauma. So it wasn't just, oh, I love to eat. It was more like, this is meeting my needs. And nobody really knows, because I was never super thin or super bony or anything, that I was struggling with an eating disorder, because eating disorders look different for everybody. And if you're struggling with this, you are not alone. If you're struggling with this, you are not alone. I'm with you. So high school comes and goes. I'm struggling with my eating disorder. I'm struggling with alcohol, coke, weed. I'm struggling with all of these drugs. And as some of you know, if you've been following the podcast pretty hard, or if you've heard me on other podcasts, I didn't want to be bullied for being fat, but I ended up getting bullied relentlessly for every other thing you can think of. Any mean thing you can say to a girl, slut, whore, anything. I was a target in my high school. People were so jealous of me. People were so relentless to me. People would spread these horrible rumors around me. And it was just awful. It was really awful. And, I ended up, I was raped when I was in high school, and I was relentlessly bullied for this. And I took all of my stress from these moments, and I dealt with them in horrible, unhealthy ways. So with my eating disorder, with drugs, with alcohol, and, I had no healthy outlets. I played soccer growing up, but I quit soccer. I was bullied off of the team from these horrible, horrible mean girls. And if you listen, a lot of you guys listen to my stuff, and you know who you are. I forgive you, but it's part of my story. So, anyways, I was in high school, all of my childhood trauma, all of my bad habits, all of my addictions and coping mechanisms were compounding year over year. Every year you don't get help, it compounds and gets harder and it gets harder and it gets harder. The longer you have a habit, the harder it is to break, right? So yeah, anyway, high school came and went, and all of these habits and everything kind of followed me into my hair career. And, I start working as a stylist. I went to beauty school, started working as a stylist, and then I started working in a bar, and kind of navigating, stumbling through life, still struggling with the eating disorder. I still struggle with the eating disorder today. But one of my bottom lines that I do not want to do, especially being out of treatment and kind of having all of this treatment for myself and to be better, I really do not want to purge or compulsively eat or binge eat. Those are my bottom lines that I do not want to do. So I haven't done them since I got back from treatment, which is great. I'm really proud of myself for that. It's a huge win. But it's something that I still struggle with today. So it's not you're ever cured. It's a struggle every day. And a lot of my addictive behaviors come from my overworking and my stress from work and from all kinds of things. So like my unresolved trauma would cause stress, and this stress would transform into something to numb it out, which would be food, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever you want to say. Those are the things that we use to deal with stress, because addiction is really just like poorly handled stress, right? So I'm still struggling with it today. So I can't really say like I struggled with the eating disorder from this time to this time, because it's still a constant struggle. And if you're struggling with an eating disorder, you know what I'm talking about. And like I said, an eating disorder is not always starving yourself or putting your finger down your throat. An eating disorder is an unhealthy relationship with food, no matter what it is. So high school came and went. I'm a stylist. I'm working in a bar, stumbling through life. And I ended up getting into a relationship, and I'm not going to dwell on this relationship because it wasn't the worst, it wasn't the best, but it really did not, it was not good for my mental health, because I was with somebody who is an okay person, but their expectation of me was not what I could be. So I was trying to be perfect all the time. My eating disorder in this relationship was times 1,000. I was throwing up after almost every single meal because the person wanted me to look smaller and wanted me to look different. And like it was just so hard for me to be that person. Because, with my height, my build, like who I am, like I couldn't get lower than a certain weight. So the lowest weight I remember being in that relationship was like 130 pounds. And that's pretty small, So in that relationship, it was really hard for me. I tried so many diets. I was doing cleanses all the time. I was doing like so many different things. And my eating disorder, my relationship with food was the worst from 2012 to 2016. So it was 4 years of like full on like the worst relationship with food ever. I hated it. I hated that every time I ate, I felt guilty. I hated that every time I felt like I ate too much, I would feel like the compulsive need to purge. I hated always being on a diet. Like food ran my whole life. I hated it. Like I could cry thinking about how much food ran my whole life. And I hated it. It was awful. And I know that so many people today, especially with the pressure of social media, the pressure of relationships, the pressure of bullying, the pressure of just like, trauma and how you see yourself. I know that I'm not alone with this, and I know people struggle with this all the time. And I really I just want to put my heart there for you, because I know how it feels. So and in that relationship, I was also sober. So I built my salon. I got a lot done. I, was taking care of my body in some ways and not in others. So during that time, I was sober, which I think had a big reason with why I was so small. In that relationship, I think, from start to finish, I lost 15, 20 pounds. I was like maybe at 150, ended up at 130. And I'm 5'6", so it's pretty normal weight. It's not fat, it's not skinny. It's just like a normal, healthy weight. But, with my relationship with food in the past and eating, like I was always like a little bit bigger. Like I was always like 20 pounds overweight. And that was like not okay in that relationship, which was, where I was in that time. And it was really hard to deal with. It was really hard to deal with, and it took a huge toll on my mental health. And when I went to treatment, a huge part of my trauma is food related, and that's why it's kind of like a lot to share this. And that's kind of why, like, when people ask me how did you lose weight, it's really hard because a lot of it wasn't healthy. You know what I mean? Like I lost a lot of weight, but some parts of it I was starving. Parts of it I was obsessively working out. And I'm not here to give you quick fix advice, and I'm not here to give you advice that's like bullshit. Do you know what I mean? So I want to make sure I'm giving like real vulnerable advice and telling the whole story before I just post something that could get a lot of likes. Do you know what I mean? That's why I wanted to do it on the podcast. And that's why like when you guys message me and ask me, I'm like, it's a long story. So when I got out of that relationship, one of the big things that changed for me was that I started drinking again. So I got out of the relationship in late 2015, and the first thing I did when I got out of the relationship is I went and had a beer with one of my friends, and I started drinking again. And when I was just out of that relationship, I was about 135, 140 pounds. Because towards the end I was eating whatever I wanted, and I was just kind of like, I'm out of this. And, you know, it was kind of like I had already started putting my health last. Like I was already in mourning mode of the relationship. Like I was like mourning the relationship. I was processing it and, you know, kind of dealing with it in my own way. And as you guys know, my relationship with food from the beginning was not healthy. So, you know, now that I wasn't cooking and doing all of the things that I was doing, I was kind of eating whatever I wanted, and I started drinking. And after I started drinking, I put on at least like 20 pounds within the first month or two. And it's not a lot, but it was kind of all over my body. So I didn't really realize I was gaining weight, but I was. So during that time also, I think it's worthy to add in, I was a salon owner with an expanding salon. So my salon was Gina Bianca Hair. We were open for, I believe, 12. We were open for 3 years, and we were expanding. So I literally was working nonstop full time. I was seeing 5 clients an hour. I was working 14-hour days, and everything I had was in the salon. Like my whole life savings, everything I had was in the salon. We were just doing the expansion. I spent $100,000 on this expansion, and I was trying my best to not be in debt. So I was like, work. I had so many bills. I just got a new apartment. I was living outside my means, and getting out of that relationship, I kind of was just like stumbling through life again. I picked up the same pattern as before, and there's so much to that pattern that I could add, but it's for another episode. I don't know if I will ever share, but it's just a lot. Like my pattern was completely unhealthy. It was just like living like a rock star, sex, drugs, rock and roll, literally like nonstop, numbing out my emotions and feelings. And it just was not good. It was just not good. And as soon as I got out of the relationship, I was doing the same thing, except I was working on top of everything. So it's work, drugs, alcohol, partying, no sleep, eating like shit. And it was just kind of like back to the usual thing, stumbling through life. That's what I'm going to call it, stumbling through life. So if you're stumbling through life, let me know, because you're not alone. You're not alone. And it's how we manage stress. Most of us have grown up with no one has taught us how to properly manage stress. Like nobody has taught us. And like, I love my mom. My mom is everything to me, but my mom had very little choices. You know, she left a relationship that was abusive and she worked to support us. You know, she didn't have very many choices, so I was left to figure it out. And I would not be the woman I am today if I had everything I needed growing up. I would not be the woman I am today if I had everything I needed growing up. And I'm proud of the woman that I am, and I'm never going to talk bad about my mom. But I'm going to say a lot of us grew up in a similar situation. A lot of us grew up with a similar situation or worse. It's literally not common to have a worse than what I'm talking about. And then if you have everything you need, if your life is perfect, that's also dysfunctional. There's no such thing as perfect, and we all go through our own adversity, whatever that may be. You know, someone may have the perfect life growing up. It might be the most perfect thing you've ever seen, but they were sexually molested one time. And that ruined everything for them about their self-worth. And just because they have everything they need growing up, that one trauma, the big T trauma, that kind of trauma is called a big T trauma, that could change everything for somebody. So you never know what people are struggling with. You never know what people are going through. And I think that's why I want to do life and business coaching so much, because like I want to help people make transformation. And that's why I'm putting so much work into myself, so I could help people make that transformation. Whew. Oh my God. So I gotta catch my breath. You guys know when I talk fast, it's because it's coming straight from my fucking heart. Okay, so I'm sorry if I'm talking really, really, really fast, but it's coming straight from my fucking heart. And I love you guys so much. And thank you for listening to this. This is like almost like therapy for me. Like I said to you guys, it's like, you know, I feel really vulnerable and like weird and icky right now, but I know it's for a purpose. Like I know it's for the right reasons. And I know that this will make a difference. So just got to catch my breath. All right. So I'm newly single, partying a lot, drinking a lot. working a lot. And I don't know about you guys, but when you work a lot, sometimes it's really hard to make healthy choices while eating. You know, oh my God. I was eating like such shit. And when I was drinking like espresso martinis, Long Island iced teas. I was drinking like sugary drinks. Like I wasn't drinking like a vodka soda. Like I was drinking like drinking. Okay. Like we could party. I'm not glamorizing it because I don't drink anymore. I'm sober now. But during that time, I was not healthy. I was stumbling through life. And thank God I met Steve. I met Steve about 4 months after my last relationship ended, and I hopped right into that relationship. Like when I met Steve, it was like when I saw him, I was just like, I'm gonna marry him. Like I knew, and I don't even think he listens to this, so I don't even care how creepy I sound, but like I knew that he was the one for me, and I jumped right into that relationship, and it was great. We moved in together shortly after. But during that time, before, I was living on my own in West Hartford. I had like a really nice apartment, and I wasn't making healthy choices while eating at all. So flash forward to when Steve and I met. My lease ended up getting canceled because my landlord wanted to sell her apartment. So I ended up moving in with one of my girlfriends, Ashley. And then Steve and I started getting more serious, and it was a lot of drinking. You know, he drank a lot when we first got together. I was drinking and partying a lot. My friend Ashley drank and partied a lot. And we were all kind of just like living our best life, but like not in a healthy way, right? So, and I'm still really good friends with Ashley. She's one of my closest friends, and no regrets at all. But we were drinking a lot. We were killing bottles of wine. Like I was killing like a bottle of wine every night just to myself. And you know, if that's something that you do, if you drink a lot of wine is straight sugar, you guys. I believe truthfully that 60 pounds of my weight gain was from drinking wine every night. Like we were drinking every single night, $8 bottle of wine every single night, and that put on 60 pounds to my body. So, you know, we were drinking a ton, and I have pictures of myself, and you can see the weight come on. So after me and Steve met, you know, all of us drank a lot, and we were all just kind of living our lives. And 4 months after meeting him, I have pictures of myself, and I'm looking at them right now as we speak. You know, I can see, you know, the weight, you know, my arms especially, and all over my body. I was gaining weight, but I didn't really notice it is all. Like, is the thing. Like, I didn't really notice it. So, it was just a lot. And it was a lot of changes too, because after, you know, Steve and I had met and I moved in with my friend Ashley, we all had our leases end at the same time. And I decided to buy a 2-family house, and we all moved in together. Even my mom and brother moved in with us on the first floor, because I bought a 2-family. And we were all like, it was a great time. I have no regrets from it, but we were definitely drinking a lot. I was trying to impress Steve all the time, so I was cooking nonstop. And, you know, to cook for that many people is a lot of pasta, is a lot of like, you know, unhealthy food. So looking 4 months after we had met, and then 4 months after, I was gaining a lot of weight. And I asked my mom, I looked at her one day, because I was doing a lot of content creation at work. Like I was doing a lot of stuff on Instagram, and I was still working a lot during all this. So I asked my mom, because I saw pictures of myself and I looked big, right? Like I looked way bigger than I normally look. You know, seeing pictures of myself, I was so self-conscious and hated any photo of me. Like I felt like the camera made me look fat. I like had not fully accepted that I was putting on a lot of weight, because I wasn't eating a lot of food. Like I wasn't binging like I had been in the past. I was just drinking a lot and eating like shit. So I would eat like, you know, I would eat pasta instead of a vegetable. You know what I mean? And it was just like, you know, I hadn't fully accepted that I was putting on the pounds. And I can't say in my heart that like I didn't see it, because if you look at all the facts, like for example, like I saw myself in photos and I was like, damn, I look different. Like, you know, when I had people film for me, I only had them film my hands. So they weren't filming me at all. It was just my hands, and I didn't want to face it. So I was running from it in many different ways. When recording content, I would only film my hands. And around this time, I was growing really big on Instagram. Like, I wasn't teaching just yet, but I was working towards it. And I was working really hard to achieve my goals of becoming an educator. I'm going to share an interview on this podcast that I just recently did with Salon Success Revolution about my growth on social media, because it was not a mistake. It was very hard work, and it was a strategy that I used. But during all of this time of my weight gain, okay, I wasn't just like casually living life. I was working like 60 to 80 hours a week. I was full time on social media, and in a new relationship, drinking a lot, and eating a lot. Like, it was just a lot of things happening. It wasn't just like, you know, what you eat in private, you wear in public. It was like a lot of things happening. And if you're a busy person, if you're working a lot, especially the hairdressers who listen to me, like, I know the struggle of getting out of work at 9 p.m., shoving 1,800 calories in your mouth, going to sleep, and starting your day with a Dunkin' Donuts. You know, we'll get to that. So at this point in the story, if you're following along really closely, you'll notice that a lot of things had changed. So I left one relationship where I was constantly under a microscope for my weight, and my eating disorder was full-fledged. Then I was like out of the relationship, and I was like, fuck it, doing whatever I wanted. And instead of using my eating disorder to numb the pain, I was drinking to numb the pain. Okay, so I replaced my, other unhealthy habits with new unhealthy habits. So I was drinking wine, partying a lot. I was working a ton, like working so much. And when you're working a ton, all of that stress has to be dealt with, and we deal with it sometimes in unhealthy ways. One healthy way we could deal with it is working out, but I was killing a bottle of wine every night. Okay, so if you notice from the beginning of this episode into now, you'll notice a lot of things were changing, and my body was under a ton of change. My life was changing, my body was changing. And anyway, one day my clothes would not fit. Like, my regular jeans would not fit anymore. And I had gone up 60 pounds. So my mom was at my house, and I was like, Mom, did I get fat? And she said, her response literally was like, it came on really fast. And I was devastated, like, to have somebody else tell me. And if you see somebody in front of you gaining a lot of weight, but they don't seem to notice, like, in the kindest way possible, say, hey, are you okay? Like, are you making time for yourself? Like, talk with them if you can. Don't be like, hey, you're getting fat, because that could be so triggering for somebody. But like, nobody told me. And I knew, but if somebody had like expressed any concern for my health, maybe I would have noticed quicker. But it's on you to notice, honestly. And it was on me. I don't want to blame somebody else for it, please. Like, I do not want to blame somebody else. I don't want to like give that blame away. But, it finally had hit me that, like, all right, I'm gaining weight. And the reason I want to share with you how I gained the weight is because a huge part of how I gained the weight I had to address before I lost the weight. So yeah, I had gotten on the scale. I gained about 60 pounds. Still was eating, snacking a lot, drinking a lot, and I was working nonstop. I started my day every day with a large iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, a bacon, egg, and cheese from Dunkin' Donuts, and I would either go all day without eating, or I would slam 1,800 calories before going to bed. Or we would eat unhealthy food in the salon. Like, we would order from the pizza place downstairs and eat shit. You know what I mean? And I know y'all can relate if you're a hairstylist. Like, it's maybe not every hairstylist. A lot of us have this same unhealthy cycle. And I'm telling you right now, that Dunkin' Donuts you drink in the morning is the start of your problems. Getting rid of that Dunkin' Donuts, one of the main major keys, because what you start with in the morning, you crave all day. What you start with in the morning, you crave all day. Now, every single morning, I make a healthy but huge breakfast. So it might not be the perfect healthy breakfast with a freaking bowl of cottage cheese or whatever people eat. Like, no, I eat like a big, healthy, hearty breakfast. Bacon, eggs, cheese. Sometimes I'll have toast, but a lot of times I'll just make hash browns, and that's like my cheat that I always eat is the hash browns because it's something good. But that Dunkin' Donuts, oh my God, that Dunkin' Donuts with the fake sugar and the amount of calories and like pure not goodness, and that Dunkin' Donuts, I feel like was one of the main keys of my problem. I would also get a bacon, egg, and cheese and start my day on like heavy carbs and artificial, like fake. I didn't cook for myself. I didn't do anything natural or cook, or you know what I mean? Like I buy organic, like natural, good food, and I was not doing that at all. And part of the reason I make breakfast every morning is I feel like it's my one step of taking care of myself to the beginning of the day. And me and Steve have breakfast together in the morning. But, that's how I was starting and ending my day, eating tons of calories when I got home because I was starving from work, and because obviously food still meets my needs. So all the stress I dealt with at work that day would deal with it when I got home, probably eating. You know what I mean? Eating and drinking. It meets our needs. It becomes addicting and it becomes a habit. When you're used to doing it every day, when you're around other people that do it, perfect recipe to gain weight. And I am not saying other people are the source of my problems. Actually, like my roommate's very healthy, and Steve is like, he's a boy, so they eat whatever they want and are fine. But, the drinking, the eating at work, and the way I had my habits. So starting my day with something unhealthy and ending my day binging and dealing with my stress with food and alcohol definitely was a huge reason I put on a lot of weight. So yeah, the cycle is real. All of the food was like a reward for all of the hard work I was doing, and it was like a 5-minute pleasure for hours and hours of pain because, working in the salon on your feet all day, I was, a salon owner as well, dealing with like not only my clients, not only my staff, but my staff's clients, the brand, the marketing, all of the little issues that go on. And it was just like so much stress, and how I was dealing with it was with food and alcohol. And it was a really bad routine. And looking back on it now, hindsight's 2020, I could see it clearly now. But in the moment, I was just on a hamster wheel with no intention of getting off. Sometimes when the stress would get really bad, I would go back to purging, but it wasn't an all the time thing. But sometimes I would go back to it, and it's not my proudest moments. I still feel so much shame for it, but that's just part of the eating disorder. And, it is what it is. That's part of my story. And the reason it's part of my story is because I'm meant to share it. And that's what I'm doing here. So during all of this time, I had realized, okay, I'm gaining a lot of weight. I realized, okay, it's not happening by accident. Definitely coming from the wine, definitely coming from my eating, definitely coming from, my habits, and I wasn't working out at all. I was working so hard during the day. I was so tired. I could not work out. I was working 14-hour days on my feet. And as much of a workout as that is, it's not a workout. It's not getting your heart rate to the place it needs to be to actually like do anything good for you. I wanted to make a change. I can't tell you enough like how badly I wanted to change, but I was exhausted by the end of the day, and I was so in demand as a stylist that like there was no time for me to take time. And I had that story of, I need to keep going. I have to reach my goals. Nobody else can take care of my clients. I'm the best. If I say no, somebody else is going to say yes, and the salon will lose business. I don't have time. I'll do it later. Who am I kidding? It's going to take years to get this weight off, and I don't have time to dedicate to it. These were my stories. I have to focus on work. My number one excuse was I don't have time. My number one excuse was I don't have time. And how many of y'all can relate to that? How many of you guys can relate to I don't have time. I'll do it later. You put yourself last so that everything else can come first. But newsflash, you guys, if you're fucking dead, you can't take care of all the things that you want to take care of. I had gotten to the point, long time ago, a year and a half ago, I ended up in the emergency room with chest pain. And I was like, I might die. I was traveling nonstop, drinking nonstop, smoking weed nonstop. I was not okay. And I was putting myself completely last so everything else could come first. If you haven't listened to episode number 31, that is the place you're supposed to start with this series. So go back and listen to it after this episode. You don't have to do it in any order. I would say, listen to this one and then the next episode in order if possible. But yeah, super, super strong story in my head of, I'll do it later. I gotta focus on work. I'm almost to my goal. I'll do it later. How many of you guys are saying this to yourself over and over and over? You could be living the life that you want. You could look the way that you want. You could be healthy. You could live longer life. You could set a better example for your children if you put yourself first, right? All right, back to the episode. So keep in mind, I was an employee-based salon owner. I was expanding my business. I was training my staff. I was full-time booked behind the chair. That was my part-time job. The rest of my job was editing, posting, and engaging with all of you, trying to become who you see here today. I wanted to be known. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be big like Larissa, like Lala, like as Confessions of a Hairstylist, as Guy Tang. Like I wanted to be like them. I saw them doing it. I was watching and I was repeating it to see what would stick. And all of this time, if you remember, if you followed me since the hair doctor, you know that I rarely showed myself. I only showed my hands. And that was because I was so traumatized from being bullied. I didn't think I could handle the trolls online, which, I don't care who you are, to be trolled is a horrible, horrible experience. And I hate it. And now I literally just block. And then if anything, I just turn off the comments because, I'm not here for your opinion. I'm here to make a statement, and I don't give a fuck about a troll's opinion at all. I do not give a fuck. And even though I say this, I'm still a human being. Okay? So I was terrified of being trolled, of having anyone say anything about my weight because of my past traumatic experience with bullying. Even today, if someone says something, it still triggers me because of my history. So after hearing this up into this moment, learning more about my history, can't you understand why it would be triggering? You know what I mean? So I'm just a person sharing my story vulnerably, trying to help people. That's who I am. I was so busy. So, yeah. I feel like when we feel out of control in our lives, which I totally felt out of control, like, with my health, I knew something had to change. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to do anything. Like, I didn't have the energy. So I feel like when we feel out of control in our lives, even in relationships, we automatically look for ways to meet our needs by doing things we know we can be successful at. So when I was working and doing hair and building on Instagram and doing things that I loved, I felt happy. I would go home and I had a great relationship and I love him so much. He never even mentioned me gaining weight. He proposed to me when I was at my heaviest, and I love Steve so much. He's the most amazing person ever. He doesn't see me as what you guys see me as. He just sees me as me, who I really am, and, in my heart, you know what I mean? I'm very real for you guys, but, he never even mentioned my weight gain to me, and loved me no matter what. But, I would go home and feel like a failure. I would look in the mirror and just feel who am I? I look who I look like now, that's who I felt like I am, but it was just covered by something else. I just didn't feel like myself, if that makes sense. So all of this happening, I totally escaped from that feeling by diving into my work. And I feel like I truly lost my identity and who I was. And if you listen to a lot of my content, I always say be yourself. Put yourself first, find out who you are and be yourself. Because that is one of the ways I lost weight and found myself. And who you see here today is who I am. because like I lost my identity and I was covering up my pain with all of my addictions. And I really feel like, you know, when we lose ourselves, the first thing we have to do if we want to live our best life is find ourselves. And, you know, we'll talk more about how to do that in another episode included in this series, because I do have another outline for an episode with a lot more strategies for you coming. But I think you need context. Like, I really think the best way to do this is this way, so you have all the context. And I'm not here for a quick fix, you guys. But once you can, you know, hear my whole story and how it really happened, then everything else will make more sense. And you'll have something to anchor it to, something to, you know, refer back to, like, oh, this is why. And, you know, it could relate to your life and it'll be more meaningful because, yeah, that's how I want to do it. So at this point, you know, gaining weight, totally escaping from myself, totally miserable, depressed, purging here and there. So I tried some quick fixes. And if you are a quick fix type person, you know it doesn't work, but it's something that you can do to kind of like shake things up from your routine and try. You know, maybe you have some kind of miracle, but, you know, I tried the teas, I tried cleanses, and I tried hardcore workouts like CrossFit and stuff like CrossFit style, you know what I mean? Like those really hardcore workouts where, you know, like if you're out of shape, you walk in and you just want to freaking die after because you're just like, I'm such a failure. Yeah, I did that. I ended up feeling like shit because I didn't enjoy any of that exercise. I didn't, you know, have any results from the quick fixes, and they weren't for me. So I always talk about having quick wins, and in my coaching with hairstylists, a lot of my coaching is about quick wins. So like, how can you get quick wins right now, because it will help you get momentum, right? It's like a snowball effect. So when you have quick losses, it's worse. It's so bad. So my story started to compound. And my story was, you know, this is who I am now. Maybe this is what I'm meant to look like. You know, maybe this is just me. Maybe at 26, it's hard for me to lose weight. Maybe it's my genetics. You know, my story was compounding now, where I start justifying it even more, and my story became stronger because I didn't want to deal with those quick losses. Those losses, I didn't want to deal with them. I didn't want to lose again and feel worse, you know? So my brain, my ancient fucking brain, is trying to justify and keep myself safe and protect me from pain. So it's saying, you know, this is what you're supposed to look like. It's okay rubbing my back. This is what my brain is doing. You know, it's just hard to lose weight. There are big women who are beautiful, and, you know, I think women are beautiful in all sizes, shapes, everything, okay? My brain is telling me, you know, there are beautiful women who are plus size. You don't have to be a twig, you know, and just protecting me from this pain. And the story was repeated so many times in my head that I did something that I'm not proud of. And I believe that this was the catalyst of my downward spiral. That is all the time I have for today, but I'm going to pick up right here next week on the Gina Bianca Podcast. Thanks for listening.